kind of feel bad that I acquiesced to a request like that.
One of these suggestions is this poster featuring a character called Diz. I wonder if that will ever be important. I really like the puzzles here. It's a little more challenging and takes advantage of basically every room. I like how you actually get to see Five, who was a joke character in the first game, but he was just named on a poster. The game ends with Phil escaping again, and there's like a fucking pig or something. And now it's on to Riddle School 4. All right, looks like we're in college. Let's just click this.
I'm gonna remember this moment for the rest of my life.
Yeah, Riddle School 4 is a complete joke published on April Fools. It first started as a real game with this first room being made, but then John said, fuck it. So we just killed off Phil and made it seem like there would be no more Riddle School games. Jonachrome betrayed us. There's even a bunch of information about how all of the characters died in this message at the end.
Yeah, well, this sentence pretty much sums it up. I didn't want people to keep asking questions, and this was kind of a way of shutting people up.
But the truth is, Jonathan Chrome is a fucking lie. Once he realized he wanted to save this game for April Fool's Day, he immediately came up with the plan to make even more Riddle School games, but to break from the mold. So no Riddle University or whatever the fuck. Instead, we get Riddle School 5. But what? That just looks like a normal Riddle School. Oh my god. Oh, every little fucking stupid ass franchise needs to go fucking space. We got fucking Riddle School in space. Okay.
What's going on?
This starts the new age of Riddle School games. The ones that are kind of weird and a little wacky, a little loony. Big lore drop here. The only canon game is actually Riddle School 1. The rest of the games are dreams being fed to the main four by an alien company called Vision. Vision's goal was to determine if humanity was evil or not, and they determined it once they saw Phil leave the school. And there was something with like a time bomb. Also, I don't know what Fred, Zach, and Smiley have to do with anything. Wrong place, wrong time, I guess. Whatever, fucking kids are in space now. It's just like my favorite movies, the Thora.
Give me a juice box, biatch.
I think this game is just kind of neat. This is the first time these characters really get to interact in a group, all working together. There's these 3 really cool puzzles where you actually get to go to all the now non-canon games and kill Fred, Zach, and Smiley because I don't know, fuck them.
Go fuck yourself.
Is to wake them up from the dream, but man, it's so cool to kill all my friends and see all these old art styles and have different puzzles with the same rooms. Zach is just turning down the temperature and breaking them into 1 million pieces. Then you go back to Riddle School where we grew up. Now I just really need to kill someone.
I guess that's why Smiley is here.
Fred's dream is weird because it's Riddle School 4, which isn't really a real game. And more importantly, Fred just isn't in that one. How did Jonachrome get around this? I don't know. He just walks in and I kill him.
Hey, Fred.
After that, you follow Diz to this. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Diz. Wait a minute, you sly dog. You had me monologuing.
Also, he was in Riddle School 4. I can't forget about that.
Diz is an alien and a founder of Vision, but was betrayed by Viz, the guy who's trying to freeze the Earth right now. And you defeat him in a boss puzzle, and he's dead. He's fucking dead. Also, Zach was being used as an energy source because he's always cold or something. I still don't think that's a real thing, but for what, I don't care. He's hot now. Not like that. I'm not Jonachrome.
Zelda Ocarina of Time.
Literally for the rest of the series, he has a fire on his head. It's like fucking like an actual fire on his head, and he's also growing hair for some reason. And Smiley also gets hair. I don't like how these fucking homunculus children who grow hair at age 12. The idea behind this game was for it to be the first of many off-the-wall Riddle School games, like Riddle Attorney, Riddle Manor, the Riddle Company. John, what the fuck is that?
This is going to be the weirdest thing. Ugh.
But Riddle School 5 ended up being a way bigger project than expected. But Jonachrome just said, fuck it. This is a series about space children now, which leads to Riddle Transfer. It's not a school, it's an alien containment unit. Because wait, fucker, the green bastard is still in your group. I think this game is fine, but it's a little too long and the most forgettable of the series, at least to me. I mean, there's the Yeti puzzle. There was no Yeti puzzles in the other games. I don't know. This is probably the most you'll see the main group together, so that's cool, but they don't have any interactions that really stick out to me. It ends with you saving Diz, but then Diz just fucks off and abandons you because he's faster or something. I don't know.
He escapes because he has longer legs and therefore is able to escape, whereas the kids have shorter legs and they're unable to get through the same way.
Phil and the others choose to escape into the sewers, which is where the game ends, only to be picked back up in the sequel. So Johnny began work on Riddle Transfer 2, but was just stuck. Nothing seemed to work, and once again, Riddle School was dead. Spoiler alert, it wasn't, but for right now, the Jonachrome Newgrounds page became a place where people just asked when the next game wouldn't happen. Look at Jonachrome's thing. He replied to someone just saying part 2 was canceled, part 2 was canceled, part 2 was canceled over and over again. John, as you'll see, kind of hates requests like this, which is fair, but also it's your fans asking for more of your games. It's a little hard to be mad at, but by God, he was mad. It would be extremely funny if this was to happen to the next series he made.
It's funky bunky. It's funky bunky.
Before we move on, I should probably mention Undercook, which was an Undertale fan game John made. John made fan games like these kind of just to test different softwares and styles, not with any real serious thought process to make something truly grand. This spawned One Night at Flumpty's because Five Nights at Freddy's was very popular, and Jonachrome liked watching Markiplier. Yes, we can blame Markiplier for all of this. He's done it again. Another direct inspiration for this game was Five Nights at Wario's. Here's gameplay of Five Nights at Wario's. This is what potentially ruined Jonachrome's life. Flumpty's is kind of strange because all of the characters aren't really from anything. They're original characters that are either made just for the game or very obscure inside jokes. Famous character Flumpty Bumpty and Birthday Boy Blam both come from a webcomic created by Jonachrome and a couple of his friends. There isn't really much known about this comic other than what John has revealed in commentaries. The comic was made up as it went along and they just took turns making pages. Flumpty was introduced as a way to disrupt the plot and return it to complete fucking nonsense. Birthday Boy Blam, who is a fan favorite and he's at least my favorite, was also introduced here. I don't know, he's just simple, but I really like his design. It kind of fits him being a birthday boy because that's what Freddy is for.
That cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah, what he said. There's another character in the comic named Kevin Jr. who just looks like Blam but just fancier and collects hats or something. In the game, both of these characters are combined, and in every installment, Blam will hit the iconic Kevin Jr. pose right as he's about to enter your office. As for the game itself, it's just a pretty, faithful FNAF clone. There's a video out there explaining the series much more better than I can, but here's the basics. Flumpty's pattern is up to chance. This is Flumpty's world now, bitch.
He's immune to the plot, and he can transcend time and space. Doesn't that just make him a god?
He'll just show up at your door completely randomly. The best tactic is just click the lights every few seconds. Birthday Boy Blam takes a path to your office. You can watch him on the cameras, but honestly, it's just easier to check the lights. Then there's the Beaver, a character John just added on a whim because he needed a Foxy clone. Also, it has knife feet. Technically, the only camera you have to watch is him in the bathroom. Once he's out, just shut the door. Yeah, he's just Foxy. John, you've done it again. You're never gonna make it into the industry. The Red Man is kind of just there. He'll show up on the left of your door, so just do the lights. Just do the lights again. While he moves through the pizzeria, is this a pizzeria? What the fuck is this? You know the Red Man is in a room when the camera isn't working. In the middle of the night, he leaves Cam 3 revealing it's a weird fucking lava dimension. This connects to an Easter egg on the Beaver's newspaper saying man drinks lava and lives kinda. The Red Man is Jonachrome's self-insert. Other Easter eggs include Markiplier's logo and text saying Flumpty kidnaps one because he felt like it, and that's probably the most juicy lore of the entire game. The Red Man has a really cool design. Apparently he's a scrap design from a horror game John never ended up making. I also like how his name is just fucking Red Man. Red Man. I really like how the Red Man's appearance shifts the tone from funny egg to oh shit, this is a little spooky. Ooh. Final character is Grunkfist the Clown, who was originally supposed to be Ron McDonald on Painting blah blah blah. Yes, the commentaries are my only sources.
And Grunkfist is totally a better clown.
Take that back, you pedophile. The more camera flips you do, the more Grunkfast will climb out of the wall. This really shouldn't be a problem if you're just checking the Beaver though. You can actually see how many flips you have left by checking how many eyes are in the pit on cam 5. I don't know why John did it that way, but that is the only way to check. The final character is Golden Flumpty, who is just Golden Freddy, but way more frequent. And that's the game. Again, just one night because it's called One Night at Flumpty's. I really like this format. It's such a short challenge, but there's so many things packed into one night. I honestly find this more appealing than FNAF's 5 nights or fucking 8 nights or whatever the fuck. You know, they did do one night too. I mostly watch Let's Plays and the worst shit ever posted to the internet. I don't really enjoy these games that much, especially 3 and 4. I still don't know what the fuck is happening in those. The nights just feel so long and boring, especially the earlier ones. So Flumpty feels like the perfect amount, at least to me. I know it's technically less content, but also la la la, I'm not listening. I mean, there's some visual things I could go into. It's one of the only 2D FNAF fan games that doesn't look like this, and it looks good. Jonachrome is a good artist, I'm sorry to say. I guess I could argue nothing's really scary, but it's a fucking stupid egg game. Who cares? FNAF ain't scary either. You want me to be scared of this? Because I won't be until I see a check on my hands. I know Scott paid off that Markiplier guy. Every room in the game is decorated by complete random bullshit. This came from John just asking one of his friends what to put in the rooms. He also made the choice to never include the color green. I have no idea why, but there's no green except the HUD. But shut up, that doesn't count. Fucker went from loving green to never loving green. Also, Phone Guy is replaced by Flumpty, who is also voiced by Jonachrome.
Hi, I'm Flumpty Bumpty. I'm an egg. I'm immune to the plot and I can transcend time and space.
That's the first one night at Flumpty's. Despite John just making it on a whim, people saw this as the greatest thing ever. I mean, it was probably the best FNAF fan game at the time. The other ones looked like this. Even when stuff like Candy's released, I would argue Flumpty's is better. Now you're probably going to say, hey, you never played that game, but hey, I saw Markiplier play it. That's enough. Looks stupid. Next question. John didn't have any expectation that many would play it, but boy, was he wrong, especially because the guy who inspired the game played it. Ruh-roh, this is your life now. I think just because how early and how different Flumpty's would become really led to its popularity. It's like these completely unique designs. Compare that to, I don't know, who is this Freddy's brother? I don't know who the fuck this is. There was so much fan art because the characters are so simple and lovable. YouTubers were just playing bullshit after they ran out of FNAF games to play. And much like Five Nights at Fuck Boys, this was actually a good game. Mark's first video on Flumpty is kind of funny because he's really good immediately and he just doesn't know what the fuck Grunkfist does.
Oh shit.
I was gonna go over some fan content, but other than Daco screaming, there isn't much.
There she is, the bitch.
Suspects you would think were making Let's Plays, and they're really... That's really it. I mean, there's this birthday boy Blam account on Twitter that people theorize was actually ran by Jonachrome because there's tweets before the game even released. And this is the same guy who said he doesn't care about these characters. I want to be making Twitter accounts for birthday boy Blam unless I truly love them. I don't believe John. He's lied before about not liking kids. FNAF 2 would eventually release. I don't know why he said eventually. That shit got pumped out like immediately. So obviously people would request Jonachrome to make a sequel, and while hesitant at first, FNAF was still fresh in his head, and he was already the master at making sequels. He was also the master at canceling sequels, but we know shh. The first thing Johnny needed was an idea, and it came to him in a dream.
And I had another inspiring dream. This time it was a Super Mario Sunshine 2 dream.
Yeah, that's where the gameplay came from. What a mid-ass Mario game to dream about. Like, it's okay, but I'm more of a 3D world guy. The first Flumpty's was very similar to FNAF 1, with the doors set up and the beaver literally just being foxy. So John improved on this by just fucking killing the beaver. Fuck it. And now the game's concepts feel wholly original. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, I can definitely see a lot carried over from FNAF 2, but it felt original, god damn it. It's still an open hallway, and the only way of protecting yourself is disguising yourself, this time with darkness, because you got a light. Look, there it is. You can have a rave up in this shit. The exposure meter was added to make the game way less hard, but in the most chaotic way possible. It really gets your heart racing and hand smashing. When a character spots you, first off, there's a peekaboo animation for Flumpty, so you're not just immediately put off guard. Then, if they do see you, instead of being jump scared immediately, this little bar will fill up. And if it's filled up, let's just say the scary egg gets you. There's also the computer mechanic. You own a fucking Dell Chromebook, and that shit runs out of battery so fast. You have to charge it, and it's annoying as shit. Flumpty and Blam act basically the same as the first game. Blam even does that Kevin Jr. shit like it's still cute. If Flumpty isn't in any of the cameras, that means he's going to your office or whatever the fuck this room is. Checking every camera to see if an egg isn't there is kind of stupid, so it's easier just to like keep the lights off when you can and just react fast to his peekaboo animation. The owl is kind of the replacement for the beaver. I don't really like its design because it's just a fucking owl, and the beaver is funnier, but whatever, it makes sense because it flies. Once it's gone from the urinal, that means it's traveling through the right or left vent. You have to block it off, but also I just like guessing because that's funnier. I don't care. It's a 50-50 chance, John.
And then I decided to add vents to it because Taste Gaming made a video on the first one at Flumpties, and he had the suggestion that maybe the beaver in that game, who works like Foxy, it might be cool if he came from either door, the left one or the right one in the game, instead of just always coming down the same hallway.
Great idea, bitch. Grunkers hangs out in Cam 2 and has this patience meter representing how long Jonathan has to wait for his girlfriend to become 18. You have to keep an eye on this because Grunkfist will appear from this hole once it reaches 0. The red man probably has the smallest role. He's a pop-up on the computer. You just have to click on him before he jump scares you. But sometimes him and Grunkfist will crack a deal or something and he'll show up during the worst parts. The last character is the eyesore, who is technically a new character, but it's based on those pit of eyes from the first game. It's supposed to be an amalgamation of Flumpty's victims he turned into a dinosaur thing because fuck you. It fills up the exposure meter the fastest because eyes, and you can track it through the cams, but then also you can just ignore it and just guess instead.
I think it instantly kills you, doesn't it?
Whoa! Okay, the final character is yet again Golden Flumpty. He's like the exact same thing. Fucking can't believe Jonathan ripped off Scott Cawthon. Originally, there was going to be this blind monster where you would deal with it by doing absolutely nothing, but it just sucked, so it wasn't put in, which is probably for the best because FNAF 2 already had like fucking 58 characters. The visuals are more bright and grungy. Look at Flumpty. He's like a tan egg now. This is mostly because John now avoided the color blue. It's much more of a distinction than Flumpty's 1 compared to its inspiration. I get a different vibe from FNAF 2 than this game because there's absolutely no chance in hell that blue piece of shit is gonna show up. Every room in the map is again decorated with random stuff that John got from that same friend. We have such classics as Freddy's head, dissected piglet, and a reference to One Night at Warriors with this Luigi. The map itself is designed to look like a vagina. Other than that, there's some super secret startup screens and this cute little animation at the end of the game. Oh, it's like actual pixel art and not Scott drunk at 3 a.m. trying to remember what color a human is. Purple is not the answer, Scott. This game introduces hard-boiled mode. Basically, it's just another night, but every character is active by the start. I ain't beating this shit.
I have Daco to thank for being supportive.
I think we should all. I think every person on Earth should all thank Daco personally, not for anything specific. I think One Night at Flumpty's is a better game all around. It's more original. The difficulty curve feels like more of a challenge, but honestly, it's hard for me to pick a favorite. Flumpty's 1 is so easy to play, and it's such a shit post, while Flumpty's 2 feels like it's trying a little too hard. Like, yeah, it's good, but calm down, John. You're gonna burst a blood vessel. Which is better, Flumpty's 2 or FNAF 2? I'm sorry, but I genuinely think Flumpty's 2 is better. A lot of people already don't like FNAF 2, but I will throw it a bone by saying it introduced probably the most iconic characters in the series. Upon release, Flumpty's 2 was immediately praised by the loyal Flumpty fans and Lewis Dawkins. It immediately became the top-rated FNAF game on GameJolt, so that's probably good, I think. Again, you had the same vulture circling around this game for some epic gameplay. DA Games made a song called Flumpty's Jam. It's probably the only Flumpty fan song I can think of. Yep, that's a DA game song. I don't know what else to say. It kind of sounds like his 1, 2, 3 Slaughter Me Street song where it's like, yep, that's DA Games. There was this fan animation of it that got over 1 million views. This is amazing. It's weird seeing these characters that were only supposed to be stupid drawings in MS Paint comics become so iconic in the FNAF community. Most people who know about Flumpty don't know about this comic. Only us Flumpty truthers. It's definitely weirder for John's Chrome, who just has to roll with it now. And of course, with the release of FNAF 3, people wanted a third Flumpty's. This eventually led to a fucking disappointment. With how popular Flumpty was and how everyone else was selling out in this community, who gives a shit? In early 2015, John started work on Flumpties 3, or as it will be known, 1 week at Flumpties. What, it's an entire week? Oh, hell no, cancel this shit, John. Oh, I didn't mean it. Before the game released, or was supposed to release, we're still waiting, John. I know you're hard at work. He released this video basically explaining why he's making this and explaining how similar this is to his feelings about Riddle School, another series he made that he never expected to be nearly as popular as it is.
With One Night at Flumpties 2, I kind of went in with the assumption that I was just going to make up ideas as I went along and it would work out eventually, and it did. 1 week at Flumpties, I tried the same thing, and it just didn't work out. That's kind of what you get whenever you don't plan things out well enough. It might work and it might not.
The game just wasn't meant to be. It was literally just made for FNAF 4 hype, and without John just wanting to copy FNAF 3's mechanics, instead try to create his own, but he didn't really have any ideas, at least any good ones, because the whole thing just kind of fell apart. The main game mechanic was freezing the characters with a camera flash and doors you could close, but the problem is you could just lock the characters in rooms, and John had no idea how to solve this. He was not having fun making this game, and it took drawing all the rooms and Birthday Boy Blam 19 times to realize that.
It took me developing and programming a whole map system, drawing 15 rooms, or technically 16 I guess because of The Office, but The Office was never finished, and drawing Birthday Boy Blam I think 19 times or something like that.
None of the mechanics worked the way he wanted. It just wasn't fun. Honestly, it's not even the execution. The idea of the game itself was flawed. Again, what, 1 week? Markiplier doesn't have time for this. He has to play Whack the Boss. Birthday Boy Blam would be the only character on the first night. I don't know if anything else would happen during this night, but that just sounds boring. I like Blam and all, but he's not fun by himself in his 19 drawings. The next night would be the owl and the beaver, who was going to be brought back as a mummy because toilet paper and shit your pants. Again, just sounds boring. The next night, the Red Man, and the Grunkfist. Yes, that's my toxic yaoi shit, but it sounds boring. The entire game was structured like this, instead of overlaying each character's mechanics like the last two. The next night is where things get interesting, but story-wise, this was going to be the series' only attempt at actual serious lore, and it did not go well. It just didn't fit with these characters. The eyesore will be active alongside two characters named Champ and Chump that kind of just look like mini eyesores that didn't get turned into a dinosaur. After this night, a mini game would play that reveals Champ is actually the player of the first two games, while Chump is the player's best friend. I guess, yeah, sure. Basically, a cutscene would happen where you're Champ and Flumpty says, "In order to become my new best friend, you must kill your old best friend." You would refuse, and then Flumpty takes off both your skin and you become Champ and Chimp or whatever the fuck. Then the next night is Flumpty night, where everyone would go crazy and the rooms would switch positions, which honestly sounds really cool. But then after that, the game would end with the player looking into the mirror and you're not Champ, but you're Flumpty? I don't know what this means. I don't think it means anything. Everything is a dream or something. I don't know. John had like 17 other ideas on how to end this. Like Golden Flumpty's your alter ego or some shit, and Flumpty would realize the error of his ways and fly into space, referencing the original teaser for the first Flumpty's game. Oh, that's nice, but one more question. I think there's nothing wrong with fans trying to come up with lore for fun, but the truth is there just isn't any lore in the first two games. Well, there is, but it's not a story that's supposed to be taken seriously. It's like Uncle Grandpa shit. So John trying to force that in was probably the biggest mistake in why it was canceled. It seemed more thought was put into the lore than the actual game, and the lore already sounded like nothing, just a whole lot of nothing. John would take down the initial video and any teasers he made and replace them with this cancellation announcement, which would also later be privated. This put a big rift between John and the FNAF community. People kept begging for a new Flumpty game or any sort of content, and the worst thing you can do to Jonachrome other than write a Google Doc is asking him for something he doesn't want to make. This shit would really get to him, so he would do posts like this. The post is just a big fuck you, Flumpty is dead forever, he's never coming back. Thanks my loyal fans who love my games. Hello, I'm Jonachrome. This is my limit. I finally well cracked. This fucking guy. This fucking guy. I don't want to be the best fan game developer ever. I'd rather be known as a real game developer. Yeah, it could be worse. you could be known as a pedophile. There's this weird part where he's saying he'll actively take down any games that use his Flumpty art, which I don't think he really had a problem with that before. But yeah, he just really hated Flumpty at this point. But when one door closes, well, you know what they say.
Yeah, I just gotta go down and get the door closed.
I need to call my mom, but I've got no hall pass.
I don't know if it was Flumpty fans checking out John's other work or just nostalgia, but YouTubers were playing Riddle School. People like Markiplier, Jack I Was in Free Guy, and Dan TDM. The videos by Dan are what introduced me to the series and Jonachrome in general. Thanks, Dan. But there really isn't that much to say about these videos other than Markiplier's thumbnail is very funny. I really don't know if this was planned, but most of these videos were released right before the 10th anniversary of Riddle School on May 25th, 2016. John recognized this and said, fuck it, all my games that do well are made in like 4 days anyway. There was so many shitty ideas for Riddle Transfer 2, like doing whatever the fuck this is, or bringing in a character named Shah Dulaw.
At the end of Riddle Transfer 3, there was going to be this character introduced named Shah Dalat, which was going to be an anagram for slow death, which didn't have any relevance, but it would be interesting.
And Viz would be back, but it was actually Diz in disguise. Again, can you tell I watched the commentary? Who the fuck is Shah Dulaw?
It's quite a lot.
I don't even know where this image comes from. That's supposedly him. John didn't even show him in the commentary because he wanted to reuse the design. This is the fucking design you were saving? One of these ideas was a futuristic prison school, and the pressure of the time he had to get this done, I think, really cut back on what he could turn this game into. And I think that was for the best because it's very simple and it works. Well, the story stuff near the end is a little weird, but it works. And this is probably the best ending the series could have. The game starts with the kids in a sewer, and immediately you do a portal puzzle to get the fuck out of there. Originally, Riddle School 2 was going to take almost entirely in these sewers, but he realized this sucks, and the game was not made until now. You return to the original school from the first game, but now it's been overrun by Vision, the Viz alien thing. But with Viz dead as shit, and Diz doing something, I don't know, who's taking over the school? Quiz. Remember that blue dialogue from Riddle School 5 I did not mention at all? Yep, that was Quiz. It's cool to have more interactions with these Riddle School 1 characters and new puzzles with the same room layout. I kind of wish there was more returning characters. Even the main group doesn't do much. Like Fred gives you one object for a puzzle. Zach is also important in one puzzle. He looks like really growing that hair out. I don't like that. Smiley will come in later, but again, not really important. They're weighing down my potential. The puzzles here are fine. I like how you can use the teacher addicted to coffee to cut the lid off this eye drop container to fill it with soap and pour it in this thing's eyes. I like how Chud is back. Chubb. not Chud. And the confrontation with Quiz is an actual quiz. That's cute. It's too bad I didn't pay attention. I was too busy thinking about them eggs. Phil kind of just changes Quiz's mind so he's good now, but then suddenly it's revealed that fucking Diz is about to destroy the earth. Yeah, big twist, but Diz is a bad guy? It's not really that surprising since he did this shit. You get in a ship with Quiz and you both go to stop Diz, which just leads to Quiz saying fuck it and doing the Flash Batman suicide bomb while Phil escapes in an escape pod. You meet up with your friends and randomly admit you're in love with Smiley because why not? It's a celebration, baby. All the aliens killed themselves. The game ends with the sequence showing where all the characters will end up, including really fucking old Phil and Smiley, which is kind of funny, but I used to genuinely find this ending beautiful and sad, and now it's kind of cheesy and stupid, but I do like seeing Zach as a random waiter. That's nice. I wish more of the characters' futures were shown. It's less of this ending actually being sad and more so this being the ending of the series. And the music playing is genuinely really good. John made it himself, and it's like a mix of multiple songs already used in the games. The final shot is ended with static, and this is actually so good.
And then right here, when the static picks back up again, I realized that throughout the entire series, there's been static for seemingly no reason. But you hear rewinding there, and in this final game, I decided, you know what, maybe that static is there for a reason, and I decided to make that reason that this whole series is recorded on tape.
Riddle Transfer 2 was received very well, and I think it's a perfectly good ending to a series John also had a struggle with ending. Also, as a little footnote here, there's also a fan remake of Riddle School 1 released the same day on the anniversary. It was made by this guy called Goatman, who is or was a big Riddle School fan. I don't know how he feels about it now. He even has a cameo in the first Riddle transfer. You might recognize him because he's actually 2 left thumbs. He does a lot of videos about Undertale, Henry Stickmin, and other Newgrounds games. It's kind of sad seeing how big of a fan he was of Riddle School, especially in hindsight. The remake is fine. It's not one-to-one. He adds his own stuff, but it's the same idea. You're a kid in elementary school, and that means Jonathan loves you a lot. Kind of stepping out of the timeline, but because of the release of the Henry Stickmin collection, people did ask John if he would remaster the Riddle School franchise, and he kind of did. Not nearly as the Henry Stickmin collection, but he did re-release the games with small improvements. I honestly wish he did remaster them just as a final ending, but I don't think that will ever happen. Oh yeah, also at Alpha Chef, that it's a sequel to Undercooked. Don't forget. I didn't forget that, even though I clearly added this part later in the script.
My body's a dragon knight. She's 6'1" in height and is adept with fear.
Okay, so I just want to make this segment talking about the Jonacrum YouTube channel and how I became such a big fan of him.
It ruined my fucking life.
I don't even remember how. I think I found his channel from getting random Riddle School nostalgia and watching his commentaries, but I loved this channel. I never really gave a shit about Flumpties until I found this channel.
Hi, I'm Flumpty Bumpty.
Ah, it's Flumpty!
No, I'm just kidding. I'm Jonathan, or Jonacrum.
Ah, that's even worse!
And this was before all the fanverse shit I have to get into. I found Jonacrum's videos actually inspiring. I know, especially now, that that's the stupidest thing ever, and I'm gonna get a Google Doc written about me, but seeing his commentaries actually made me want to make shit. Not really games, but just videos and animations in general. This was back in 2020 to 2021, and I would watch these videos all the time and work on this animation that to this day, I still have not done anything with publicly. I know nobody cares, but I just want to show that I was genuinely a big fan of John. You can find old comments I left. I actually don't find those. And I really like the idea that originated Flumpty, rotating a comic between artists who would all make pages and just make up the plot. I did eventually do this with this Twitter account called the Funny Planet Dolan comic for the 4 people that know what I'm talking about. Good job. Also, ironically, I had to end that because one of the characters was the Hellbent guy I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and you know what happened with him. It's hard to look back on these videos fondly for obvious reasons, but also because John kind of just hates his fans. He had 2 massive hits, but kind of just has this grudge against them because they didn't come from a serious thought process, or he made them when he was just like a baby. I kind of get it. You don't want to be stuck in this hole only making Riddle School games and Flumpty FNAF clones, even though you made a video called Originality is Overrated. But whatever, John. I am the champ and you are the chump. This hatred would lead to him kind of just having a resentment towards people who actually liked his work, which you kind of need people to like you if you want to be successful. You should definitely make what you enjoy making, but he was actively putting down others for liking his games, like that Flumpty is dead post. It's also my personal opinion that the Flumpty characters are kind of amazing.
To be honest, I've grown really tired of the Flumpty characters. I still like them, but I just don't want to do anything else with them. They're always jokes. In my mind, they always will be jokes, and I don't want to continue to make games only about characters that didn't really have much of a serious thought process behind them.
I don't know, what this whole they aren't good because they're not a serious thought process comes from, because, look at Birthday Boy Blam. This is one of the greatest designs ever. These characters started as jokes, but there's nothing wrong with that. The characters that just immediately click in your head and you come up with them in 5 seconds might be the best characters you can create. Flumpty may be stupid meme bullshit, but he's my stupid meme bullshit. Also, he might have come from a deeper place in John's mind than he thought.
13 years ago now, on the forum I used to frequent, I invented an imaginary user with the name Popular Guy. And the running gag was that every message this user posted would receive at least 12 upvotes, regardless of what it said. I had to find an avatar for this character I invented, and on a whim, I did an image search for Humpty Dumpty, I'm not really sure why, and found this, which it turns out is from a bit on The Muppet Show. I couldn't tell you why this image worked so well for Popular Guy, but the joke was well received, and I wouldn't be surprised if it left an impression on me that subconsciously led to Flumpty Bumpty years later, who I similarly invented on a whim as a joke.
There's some other stuff on this channel I could talk about, like his short video essays where he says Donkey Kong 64 is one of his favorite games, even though it's shit. And his FNAF Let's Plays. Yeah, I bet you didn't know about his FNAF Let's Plays.
They're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away. Heck, we should be paying them to guard you.
Good thing we're not criminals then, I hope. I'm glad we have a solid supply of microwaves in the corner.
There's also the 1 week at Flumpty's animations, which were all posted on April 1st. It's just a joke about the game never coming out, but I kind of like these even though they're pretty shitty.
I'll help you satiate your appetite.
He made this video called Thinking on My Feet, and it's just it's beautiful. It's just random shit happening. It's like a video version of WarioWare. Another animation John made is called Can't Food, and it's actually very interesting. At first, it's just a little slapstick style cartoon about this 2D cat finding a tunnel to an exact replica of the same house, but this time in 3D. He tries to eat the food from the fridge, but then a 3D cat shows up with a gun. He gets followed back to his house at gunpoint when suddenly this happens. The video just becomes a "don't hug me, I'm scared" style fever dream, and then it finally cuts back to the cat and he just speaks.
Wait, can we be serious? Look, it's not every day you find a tunnel in your house. I thought maybe it was dug up for me, like maybe you did that as an invitation, I don't know. And apparently I'm not a welcome guest. I thought that I wanted a taste of your food, but now that I really look at it, I don't like this brand. It's heavily processed and mostly artificial. I know it's popular these days, and my type has become pretty hard to find, but well, I want this kind even less now that I've had a traumatic experience with it, and I find it pretty generic anyway, so.
It's clear from the canned ingredients that this video is a weird criticism of 3D animation and how 2D is better, which, I mean, in this case is true, but I don't know, John, just get better at 3D, get over it. But there's even more to this animation. This was John's final project in his college art major. He had this professor that he did not like and blamed him for overthinking art. Shit like color theory, perspective, and mainly just 3D animation, which, yeah, I don't care for, and I don't think that weakens creativity, but also it's an art class. I don't really know what you expected. After John pitched Can't Food, the professor insisted that he instead goes full in on the comedy angle and not whatever the fuck he did end up doing. This led to John making 2 Can't Foods. The one the professor wanted, complete with a stop motion styled cat at the end, and the real Can't Food. He sent the toned down one to the professor, but when he actually presented it to the class, he played the real one.
And that's the version of the animation that I showed on the last day of class. I expected everyone to hate it. Like, I knew that the work that went into it would probably be appreciated, but I thought that everyone would think, oh, this is a disrespectful, poorly structured piece of work, and I don't agree with this. But as it turned out, it got a very positive reaction. Nobody expressed a single criticism, and my professor was in stunned silence for probably a solid minute after it was over until he finally said, "Why?"
This entire video is literally just to make his college professor mad. And that's honestly commendable. The alternate Can't Food is just so nothing. It's a little charming, I guess, but the real Can't Food is so strange, especially if you have this highly specific context. Even the original ending is referenced during the nightmare sequence. I don't even agree with the message, but the ending is way more effective and stays with you. The professor did not like this, even though it's fucking peak. And the funniest part about this is that Jonachrome got the fucking police called on him.
And my dad knocks on my bedroom door and says, Jonathan, there are a couple of police officers from campus here to talk to you about something. And sure enough, there were 2 police officers, and they mentioned the video that I turned in the day before, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be awkward. So we sat down, and I was informed that most of my classmates were made uncomfortable by the content of the animation that I turned in, which felt like a slap in the face because I only heard positive things the day before. And here I was having to answer questions that I would have never expected to answer, like, do you intend to harm yourself or anyone else? Do you own any weapons or have ever used any weapons?
If Jonachrome got arrested right here, I think that would be very fitting. On August 21st, 2020, the Fazbear Fanverse Initiative was announced. It was a way for Scott to officially endorse fan games and financially support them with re-releases, merchandise, and even new games like My Pop Goes. This was seen as a big thing. People were praising Scott for this, and honestly, I think it's still really cool. The idea, I mean, the execution could be way better, but the idea is pretty good. There's going to be a lot of hiccups along the way. The lineup of developers were Kane Carter with Pop Goes, Nixon with the Joy of Creation, Emil Mako with the Return to Freddy's, of course, and Fiznom with FNAF Plus. I got nothing against the guy, but yeah, if you don't know, FNAF Plus took like years and it was canceled due to some random Twitter drama Fiznom was having. Also, depending on how this video might age, let me just say, it's a shame Kane Carter was also kicked out of the fanverse. I just want to mention the fact that Scott was going to get the Jollibees fan game guy, but then immediately learned that Jollibees is a fucking chicken place, so he didn't let them in. He didn't know about Jollibees. But the fanverse goon we care about is Jonachrome. John got an email about the fanverse from Scott Cawthon. Now, there's two options. He could have made an amazing finale to finally put a neat bow on this chapter in his life, or he could say fucking is his flumpty gravestone. Luckily, he went with the first option.
I joined the initiative knowing I didn't have to make a third game if I didn't want to. Even still, to me, it only made sense to try. Because, of course, one last game to tie up loose ends for the fans and for myself would make the whole thing more special.
The content planned for the Flumpty series was Funko and U2's merch, a re-release of all the games, and a new third game. Everything except merchandise ended up happening very fast, like way faster than any of the other fanverse creators. Like we still don't really have that much to show for the fanverse except Popco stuff and the Fiznom incident of 2023. To be fair, it was much shorter because John was just planning on making a third game of the same size as the last two, so no 1 week champ and chump bullshit. The next day after the announcement, we got the One Night at Flumpty's Egg Collection, which isn't really a remaster, more so just a port for mobile and a way to officially put the games in the fanverse since the originals had a bunch of copyrighted stuff that had to be removed. It's a little sad, but it basically changes nothing. I don't like how Ronald McDonald's is replaced with just Grunkfist, so there's just two Grunkfists right next to each other now. Also, for some reason, the Markiplier logo was removed. Like, even if Markiplier cared, you can't copyright a funny looking M. Dr. Mario's head is changed to Smiley's head, and Flumpty's 2 Piglet is changed to the Flying Pig and Easter Egg in Riddle School, and the Five Nights at Wario's reference is also changed to Diz. Just a whole bunch of Riddle School references. Birthday Boy Blam is changed to Shadula. The only real added content is a hard-boiled night to the first Flumpties, which is expected. And these little select screen things that I really like. I like how it's Flumpty and just 2 random characters from the games. Why the hell is the beaver doing this like anime girl pose? He fucking thinks this shit is cute.
It's Funky Bumpty. It's Funky Bumpty.
One Night at Flumpty's 3, released October 31st, 2021, is pretty good and probably the best of the franchise. There's also a great video he made that's kind of a commentary but completely edited.
Major shout out, by the way, to Phil Morg, who is also part of the fanverse developing FNAF Plus.
He doesn't know. I mean, it's definitely the best, but it kind of depends if you'll like it more than the other games because it's the most original so far. The closest game I'd say is Pizzeria Simulator, I guess, because you can turn left and right, but the mechanic for the 3 sides of the room are completely different.
A few years back, probably about 4 years ago now, 3 or 4, I don't know exactly, I had a dream about a hypothetical third Flumpty game that took place in an empty cabin on a mountain with a blizzard outside.
Thank God he didn't dream about Mario's Sunshine this time. The temperature comes in with this little bitch on the left, this Little Big Planet bullshit. Basically, meter goes down equals bad. You have to go to this furnace to heat up, so it's kind of like the air conditioner in Pizzeria Simulator and the music box in FNAF 2, which is weird because John said he hated the music box. It's interesting because I do think the music box sucks, but I don't really mind it in this game. Maybe because the music box feels like an annoying chore while the furnace feels more like a safe space. It's probably because the dumbass music and have to hold down a button. Oh yeah, there's cameras, by the way. That's a very good thing. Once we lost the cameras in FNAF, we lost the plot. The mechanic you use to get rid of those things is another camera. It's basically the mechanic that was planned for 1 week at Flumpty's, but only in the office, and only have so many camera shots, so don't waste them. Birthday Boy Blam is basically the same. He'll follow a path to your office, and it's very easy to track him, and once he's fancy, flash him. Flumpty isn't here, weirdly. I wonder why. Grunkfist starts on cam 6 and also starts a pretty easy to follow path to your office, but once you flash him, he kills you because that's a classic Chrome moment. I think this room is actually really clever. The fact that it's a clown art exhibit and it makes sense for there to be a no flash photography sign telling you the mechanic. The red man appears on cam 4 and will enter an evil lava portal because he loves that shit. And once he's in, you can't go to the furnace or you'll die. Basically, just keep your eye on cam 4 a lot and manage your temperature. The next character comes from the vent on the right side of the room. The Bevowl. It's a mix between, yeah, you fucking get it. The owl was killed off at the beginning of this game with the gravestone, and now it's combined with the beaver. It's basically just a foxy mechanic. Check the vents a lot and flash them. Eyesore is back and pretty easy. Just flash them twice in the doorway. The only problem is when Grunkfist overlaps with them.
Go flash the hallway. Go flash the hallway.
Oh,
fuck, where is it? It doesn't show up on the...
The final character is Golden Flumpty. He just acts like the Phantoms for FNAF 3. Don't put down the camera once you see him or he makes your temperature drop, and that's no good. And that's the first night. Keyword first. Ooh, I wonder what that means. Who is the next night dedicated to?
Someone asked for an egg! Because it's the egg.
So it's the egg. After all these years, we finally get Flumpty night, and it's so satisfying. Jonachrome when he sees Minor. To me, 1 week at Flumpty's sounded like shit. Like one whole night with just Birthday Boy Blam, Champ, and Chud, fuck off. But Flumpty night actually sounded so interesting, and it's so cool to see. Flumpty has murdered every character and tries to kill you by himself or self. So there's like 9 Flumptys. I'm actually sad that the last we see of these characters is all of them dead. Yeah, it's effective, but like this is their last appearance unless you count boiled mode as canon. I don't know what's canon. It's nothing but everything is canon. But the last we see at Birthday Boy Blam officially is him being dead, and that just makes me very sad. It was very effective in making random gamers lose their mind.
Oh my god, they're all dead! Look at them all!
No. Oh, this is crazy.
The night just adds like 50 mechanics until you can't handle it, and it's kind of amazing. You have normal Flumpty, who weirdly doesn't follow the normal random Flumpty path, but follows Blams. And there's just no normal Flumpty in this game. John, get back to work. Then the red man is Flumpty now, and the Bevowl is Spider Flumpty now, who has this really cool animation. Then Door Flumpty gets added. You have to take care of like you would in 1 week at Flumpty's, if I had one. The rooms also switch just like John said they would. Then you have fucking iFlumpty, who's Grunkfist from Flumpty's 2. Flumpty.exe, it's Redman from, again, fucking Flumpty's 2. Then 2 rooms drop down holding virtual Flumpty, who would turn off your laser doors. The room falling is so fucking cool. And then there's Shadow Flumpty, who was like Golden Flumpty, who is ironically not here. He will jump scare you, and you just have to pull down the monitor too many times. He's there. Fuck. Fun fact, Shadow Flumpty looks a lot like Flumpty's jump scare in Flumpty's 2, but you won't see that because he's so easy to deal with, and I only notice it because of Markiplier. I'm going fucking insane. Late into the night, all the UI and shit gets fucked up, like a perfect dark sanity effect. I honestly wish this was more prominent. It was going to be, but John said it got in the way too much. But if there was like at one point where the game just went back to the title screen for like 5 seconds, that would be so cool. The music also changes during the night to a song called Electro Swing. It has 5 million views.
Welcome to Flumpty Bumpties, it's your time to beat the egg and leave this place behind.
What the hell? This shit sounds like Flumpty Jam. I think it does make the night more chaotic, and I do like it, but yes, I find the vocals extremely funny. He sounds so depressed. Come on, John, just put some pep into your step. You got like 1 week before your career is over. Flumpty's night is very good, and it's the best FNAF experience I've ever played, but don't take that seriously since these are the only FNAF games I've played. Hard-boiled mode is just both nights, but hard. I do like how there's a specific reference to the 1 week at Flumpty's cancellation video with some music in the background.
I gave it a solid effort, but it was not meant to be. I don't enjoy canceling games after I've announced them.
There is actually a little lore in this game, even though John said this.
One Night at Flumpty's does not have lore.
Shut up, chump. I am the champ. If you get to 6 a.m., which technically you haven't done yet, you are let free. At the end of Flumpty Night, he lets you go, but the world is fucking engulfed with lava. I don't know if this is like an intentional callback to one of the newspaper stories. Yesterday, Flumpty killed approximately 100 billion birds with one stone. That stone was a meteorite, and yesterday was the apocalypse. Some people theorize that the curtain call are all drawings of what the characters looked like right before Flumpty killed them. The people who think this look like this. Show sad map. The hard-boiled ending or true good ending is the same, but this time the world is actually intact and not a complete wasteland. It stays on this before fading to Flumpty flying towards the stars, a parallel to the first teaser for the first Flumpty's game.
I'll miss you.
This is a good game. I'm sorry, but it just is. It has the most content out of the three, but it just doesn't miss the mark, and it's still short and sweet, just like Riddle School. I think this was a perfect finale to a series John had so much trouble ending.
Dump up love in the groomer groove. Take a child to be on the move.
This is the part that sucks. Jonachrome releases this tweet on Twitter. I'm sorry to anyone I've disappointed today. I don't aim to make anyone's life worse, but as a parent, I shouldn't trust my own judgment anymore. I don't accept that my only option now is to give up. I could be gone a long time, but I'm not going to stop seeking help. Now, I don't know what this tweet meant, but when the replies are filled with grooming allegations, it became pretty obvious and so fucking disappointing. John dated a minor. At the start of the relationship, he was 21, while she was 14. By the time this came to light, they already broke up. The person who leaked this was an ex-friend of John who knew for a long time until releasing this now, apparently because of John's position in the FNAF community. The problem is, this person also leaked some information about the victim they didn't want out. Actually, the victim didn't want any of this out and actually defended John at the time. John's first response is pretty hand wavy, and he would later make a new one. This apology and or explanation, I guess, is not very good. He basically just explains that he's religious, it doesn't believe in sex before marriage. Also, he points to autism as another factor, which is like, okay. The whole thing just comes off as very disingenuous, saying he genuinely did not see the problem with an adult like him dating a minor with a 7-year age gap. It's important to point out, as far as we know, nothing sexual was apparently said in these conversations, but John did want to marry this girl whenever she became the legal age. One of his defenses is just saying he can't be a groomer because he hates kids, because he like hates his younger siblings or something. I don't know, it's not good. And he starts listing other stuff, like him deleting messages from kids or him banning users in his Discord that were weird, but there's no evidence provided. John ended his statement saying he apologized to the victim and he would leave the internet for a while to get mental help. And to this day, John has not returned, or at least as a public figure. It's really hard to talk more about this when my feelings are just disappointment. I already described how inspiring I found these videos and how much I liked his characters, and of course this fucking sucked. With so much of this nowadays, it's important to remember to not idolize creators like they're gods or something, and not people who can just make really bad mistakes. Like, you can really only see the surface of someone based on what they upload to the internet. That's why it's important to not trust John's defense, because we'll never know what his true motives really are. I mean, I will commend him for actually leaving the internet and seeking help as far as I know, but I really shouldn't have to do that because he should have never been in this situation in the first place. Yeah, it just fucking sucks. I would end it here, but I'm gonna try to lighten up the tone a bit because there's some very interesting consequences of this that I'd rather talk about, but just, you know, this situation is very serious. And while I was a fan of John, I'm obviously not anymore. And I honestly hope he doesn't come back to the internet. I just don't think it's a good place for him. What are the consequences of an official FNAF developer doing this? Well, since it was a week after release and many YouTubers were able to play the game before this happened, all the ones you would expect, Daco and MatPat.
It's like a Rick and Morty style version of Five Nights at Freddy's.
And then there was also 8-Bit Ryan, whose Let's Play is really funny because he doesn't know what's going on and he acts like he's actually freezing.
We're gonna warm up. I'm cold. Guys, I'm cold. No, you have to warm up, man.
But because of how small this window of time was, some people just never got around to it, like Markiplier, the guy who accidentally made this series happen. He never made a Flumpty 3 video, which means he was informed on the situation. Even then, it's very rare to see videos about Flumpty like with other fan games, even though it's probably one of the best ones, at least in my opinion. I mean, I don't really blame people, like you have to mention it at some point. Some people are not as lucky to have the gift of knowledge, though.
The creator of One Night at Flumpty's was in a relationship with a 13-year-old when he was 21.
Shoot! Fuck me! Come on! Why did you guys want me to play this game? Is that why? Oh, shit. Oh, shoot. Fuck! Come on! Shit!
This means a lot of fan content stopped, but that doesn't mean there wasn't any. Because there was.
Oh. Hey, I kind of like this music.
This is a channel literally called the Flumpty Plus channel, and I'm not trying to make fun of them or anything. I want to shout them out. These videos are amazing. Look at these custom plushes. That's beautiful. And if anyone is allowed to reclaim these characters, it should be this guy who's been doing this for 4 years. He also made Dormitibus videos. This poor plush tuber accidentally made videos for the 2 worst fan games you could possibly do that for in hindsight.
Good morning to you, birthday boy Blam. Good morning, Flumpty. Stop kissing me.
I get the stigma against creating fan content for Flumpties or Riddle School, but honestly, I don't see much wrong with it if you don't support Jonachrome. It's also not like John can make any money off these characters anymore. And that leads us to our next topic. The reaction of official associates of John. Firstly, everyone in the fanverse disowned him like immediately, including Fiznom, who actually worked on Flumpties 3 and the ports. These ports would only go on to mobile, while the egg collection for PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo Switch never released, and I don't think it ever will. All merchandise of the characters were also canceled. Funko released 3 plushes of characters all from the fanverse. One is Pop Goes Weasel, second is Candy the Cat, and third is Blake the Badger, who is also from Pop Goes. But you probably already know that already. We all know that classic character, Blake the Badger. It's pretty obvious this was gonna be a Flumpty plush, which I'm really sad didn't happen, but also, again, can't blame them. U2's also had a fanverse wave of plushes, no Flumpty or FNAF Plus for some reason. I don't know. There's also a figure wave, but it's strange because there's literally a missing figure between number 11, Pop Goes, and number 13, Gold Chrome Freddy. It's speculated that number 12 would have been a Flumpty character. Also, I don't know what the fuck a Gold Chrome Freddy is. That's like some pink gold peach shit. And that's the general aftermath of the controversy, but it does go deeper. And I'm now going to get into very obscure with my knowledge. And a lot of this I know from elaborate games of telephone, so take everything with a grain of salt. Jonachrome is planning to come back soon, or at least he was. Jonachrome is still kind of a ghost. Sometimes he'll update his YouTube description to give small updates that aren't really worth going into. They're pretty basic. But he was planning to return with a game, and we know this from an individual named Sleep Live. Sleep Live is kind of an interesting guy. He calls himself toxic and kind of just goes into random Discord servers to say stuff like this. Dealing with Kane Carter. With no context or explanation, it's really funny. Nothing personally against them, but he is kind of important here. Sleep Live used to be a drama YouTuber, but has unlisted a majority of his videos where he talks about stuff like Theft King, which was a whole thing a while ago. Recently, he's tried to do an investigation on the fanverse or something. I don't really know. He claimed that Kane Carter knew about John's relationship, but there's also conflicting information, and Kane directly denied it by saying this tweet. I don't know. It's a whole thing. I don't really think Kane knew anything. I think he's telling the truth, but Kane does have a fair bit of weird stuff too. I mean, he'll probably never leave the fanverse though. He's kind of the face of it. But there's something important you should know. Sleep Live is kind of friends with Jonachrome, or he was friends with Jonachrome before the incident. You can find a lot of tweets talking to John. It seems kind of one-sided though. 4 months before Flumpties 3, he tweeted this out. Heads up for everyone, Jonachrome is one of those weirdo pedophile defenders, showing that if this is true, it probably is, that this was an ongoing thing, And John obviously did think about what he was doing, and he's lying in his apology because of fucking course. Why would anyone believe he never thought that dating a 14-year-old would be wrong? In late 2022, Sleep Life says this. In January of 2023, Jonachrome plans on returning to releasing content publicly with an apology. I want to issue this as a bit of a heads up since I've been in contact with John and have been advising him in terms of mental health stuff along with supporting his art as a friend. He then posted this screenshot of a conversation between them. You were literally dating a child. Dating isn't the same thing. Too long didn't read, but it's just Sleep calling John a pedo and John going like,
no, you don't get to.
What I'm going to reveal now is something I don't think anyone else has really covered about John, and for a while it just sounded like a weird rumor, but then I saw the proof. John was going to release a game fucking teaching you to not be a pedophile. I have no idea what this means or what the gameplay would even be. Why would there need to be a game to teach people to not be pedophiles? Actually, maybe we do need that, but this idea coming from Jonachrome is so funny because that's like learning to not kill people for fucking Jeffrey Dahmer. In late 2023, Sleep Live leaked footage of the game and clips of videos John was going to release. From what I've heard, this is a so retro-ass game that would have had this Knight character as the main character, realizing that he was accidentally serving for an evil cause. This is a metaphor for how John accidentally likes kids. Again, grain of salt, it's kind of hard to understand exactly what was going to be in this game, but it was said that this would be kind of a response to the situation. Like, this Knight is basically a self-insert for John, painting himself as a dumbass that didn't know any better. It's basically just like a vent piece. Something I haven't mentioned is a game he's been working on for about a decade. Patina's Paintbrush. This is or was a big game he was working on. It seems like a lot of information about it was removed recently, which makes it kind of hard to research. I don't even know if he's still working on this. I mean, at least this wasn't a response to the grooming allegations. And John has still not returned. And I don't really care if he does. I'm just not interested in what he's doing or planning anymore. Yeah, separate the art from the artist or whatever, but I mostly like John not because of his art, but because I thought he was a genuinely like admirable person and a real artist or whatever.